Hey, good afternoon, everyone. What a special day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy birthday to Miles. And happy Blaine Bartlett Day. learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM. We are blessed to be here. How are you, Blaine?
Hey, I could not be better. This is a great Thursday.
It is. And your beautiful wife's birthday was 2 days ago as well. There must be something going on in March because all the wonderful people that I know are celebrating this month. And we have D-Rock from Vayner Sports and my brother-in-law Doug and Miles and your wife and Tushar from Celsius Network. I'm loaded with birthday gifts. Amazon's loving me this month.
Hey, this could be a good revenue generating strategy for you, Doug.
That's for sure. Well, I want to welcome Doug, by the way. So happy birthday office hour day to Doug C. Brown, who's here, CEO of Business Success Factors, businesssuccessfactors.com. And Doug, you and I share a common, I believe, love in our lives. And it's, hopefully not my wife, but more importantly, it's checklists. With all the technology that I've utilized and I've invested in and I've been a part of, I still think there's more value in a straight out checklist than almost anything in as a success factor, just because the way it coordinates with the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind and programs it as such. I'm going to start with a question about checklists, and we'll get into what you do in your sales and marketing auditing and checklist process with business success factors. But why do I feel this way? Why do I feel at 54 years old with the successes I've had that checklists are so important?
Well, I think no matter what you do, whether it's you're 20 or you're 80, keeping something simple is a lot easier on the human brain than something that's much more complex. So that's probably why you love them. It's why I love them.
I love that.
I got my pilot's license in 70, I think it was 72, and it was drummed into me. During my training checklist, you do the pre-flight, and I have never forgotten that. Every time I'm in an airplane, I'll just run a checklist. Now I haven't flown left seat for a while, but that's always been part and parcel of what I've done. And even in the and you got this checklist for businesses, and and I'm picking up on what David was saying here. David, you make available checklists, in some of the free trainings that you do and whatnot, all of that stuff. So those of you that are listening right now, pay attention to this. I mean, this is it's the simple things are what make a difference in life. It really is. It's the simple things. It's kind of like, I don't need that. Yeah, you do. You actually need that. So can you talk a little bit about what you've done with this, how you developed this whole strategy?
Well, I train people to be in the top 1% of sales globally. So what I found is people make it too complicated, right? I mean, it's just the process of sales is communication. And one of the reasons we develop checklists and we do everything off of this type of format is because it's really easy to, I would say, assimilate, right? To bring it into the human body. And just as a pilot, when I was in the military, I mean, we used to go through checklists every single time, whether I was, in the artillery or whether I was in the, doing something else. I mean, if you forget something and you're in a situation that you need something and you didn't go through the checklist, well, guess what? It's not a fun day. So, I would assume as a pilot, the same thing, right? If you, I don't know, I'll make it a gross error. Well, fuel. No, we didn't check that, right? I mean, and you're up there. So what I've discovered is we keep things simple and we stick to the basics, and checklists are always the basics, but the cool thing about checklists too, guys, is you can change them, right? It's not something that you have to change a whole process. The process is the checklist. So that's what I found to be really successful. And people love checklists because they're very easy to understand, and they can look and they say, oh, I'm missing this, or, oh, that's, and I think part of this goes back to our, at least my mother, I can say, when I grew up in the Boston area, my mother used to have a checklist and go shopping every time, when I was 3 years old. I remember her doing this in the grocery store.
Right. Yeah. And Doug, what's so interesting is that you utilize a checklist. I read the book Checklist Manifesto that talks about the ego and the interference that the ego has with checklists. So, for example, in the book, they discuss how surgeons have to go through a checklist before surgery. And a lot of them, because of their ego, the more experienced they are, the less they follow this procedure. But yet, literally thousands of deaths are caused every year because they don't go through a checklist, and many other unnecessary mistakes are made because they don't go through a checklist. But when they survey the doctors about the checklist, there's a high percentage that said they don't need it. But when they ask the second question of, if you were being operated on, would you want your surgeon to use the checklist? 99.9% of them said yes. I'm also have been involved in sales for decades and decades, and have been known to have, been involved with billions of dollars in sales and increasing percentage of sales. I find the ego takes these eagles, not the journeymen. The journeymen, they know they got to grind. They follow the, they know it's numbers and math, and they do the work. But the best salespeople, the born salespeople, the guys like you that were entrepreneurs at 3 years old, real entrepreneurs, they're the hardest ones to increase revenue with, because they won't utilize the tools from people like you to be successful in business, whether it's your book that you wrote or these checklists that you provide. Why is it that the best surgeons, the best salespeople, probably the best leaders in our military think that they're beyond what got them there?
Well, I think you hit it. I mean, it's ego, but it's inflated ego, right? It's arrogance, really, when it comes down to it. And, I worked in the hospital setting. So, I was a nuclear medicine technologist. And I remember, doctors coming to me and going, "Hey, where's this?" And so I find this amongst, especially salespeople, salespeople generally, part of the reason they're successful in sales is because they have a drive to grow. And then once they get to a certain point, they've grown beyond where their own ego thought they could be. And then, so instead of them looking at that and saying, "Okay, I've got to fix my internal self," what they do is they go outbound and they say, "Oh, okay, I'm better than that, so I don't have to do this anymore." And, again, I liken it to anything that if we had something that was critical mission and we forget take the space shuttle, an unfortunate situation, it was supposedly a faulty O-ring. I heard that, so if there was a checklist that had that part inspected, maybe those people would have been still here today. So I really believe that it's really about the inflated ego. And a lot of times people and entrepreneurs, David, I mean, a lot of them build their business because they think when they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, they're going to feel better about the childhood wounds that they had when they were little. And that never goes away. So you got to deal with your own internal self in order to, settle down and work what works.
Stories told, and it's been told a number of times. John Wooden, most successful basketball coach in college history, would every one of his championship teams. So I don't care who you were. You could have been Kareem. You could. Take your pick. Sit down on the bench and put your socks on. And there's a certain way to put your socks on. Do it every day. Yeah, it's kind of a checklist. I mean, are your socks on? And and I've read his book, and I think it was Korea. No, it was Walton. I think was just going, "Why do I have to put my socks on this way?" And Wooden was pretty emphatic about it. This is just the way we do things here. It's part of. He didn't use these words, but it's part of the checklist. It's how we ensure that you don't get blisters because you forgot to put your socks on the right way, sort of a thing. And it's going to compromise the integrity of the business, the team, if we can't get you on the floor.
And you take guys like Bill Belichick. I mean, he's dismissed people off the field for showing up late because it's the part of the checklist. You're in this team, right? Yeah. So, and he and Tom Brady had a pretty good run for a long period of time. So I think it works.
Right. You're from Boston, aren't you?
Is that I was gonna say, is that a Boston accent I hear a little bit of? But...
Yeah, no, I'm not packing the cab, but I do have the I do have some of that. Yes.
That's all right. Well, let's talk about also how, this simplicity applies to the win-win selling that you talk about in your best-selling book, where you can unlock the power of profitability by, I love the way you use the word intentionally, resolving objections, not overcoming, not underselling, overselling, lying, manipulating, or cheating against those, or resisting objectives. But I love the intentional usage of the word resolving those. So how do we make resolving objections simple?
Well, to understand what all people want, right? I mean, I remember Oprah Winfrey, she said after every interview she does, and it didn't matter with who she did it with. It could be a president of the United States. It could be a world leader. It could be somebody that's not known very well. But the majority of them would come off that interview and ask her one question: how did I do? How did it go? Right? So all people want to be validated, and people want to be heard. And in sales, we're communicating. And all we're doing is we're trying to win-win resolve something that they usually have a challenge or an opportunity that they're seeking, and we have some resolution to that. And if we keep that in mind, then really the outcome is that win-win resolution. And this is why I tell people don't crush objections, because the moment they go and they try to overcome or crush the objection, they're breaking rapport with the person. And, the old days of selling, the Tin Man days of selling aluminum siding on the house, where you walk in and you just, crank down the deal and get the deal at all costs, especially with the internet today. I mean, that the internet has leveled the playing field of information. So those days are pretty well over. And, that's why I think it's imperative for people, especially selling now in the year, 2020 and beyond, to understand that they're buying from people, not just from titles or doing an exchange of merchandise for a SKU number anymore.
Yeah, you nailed it. I'll tell you this from my experience. It's been so simple just to find open minds and ask the open-ended questions to figure out what it help you if. And that's the great resolution of objections, is to continue to ask, would it help you if I did this? Would it help you if I did this? And even more importantly, what I call the Ben Franklin effect from his autobiography, to, after finding that resolution, to even ask further to make them feel even better and to confirm that connectivity is, do you know anyone that could help me? And a lot of people are afraid to ask that second question, which exponentially grows, which is how you teach people to be, over 850% of their comp plans and their their own expectations. The incredible Doug Brown here on St. Patty's Day, the CEO of Business Success Factors. If you want to be successful and make it easy on yourself, I got two great mentors here. Both can help you, but check out businesssuccessfactors.com and make sure you read his book, Win-Win Selling. These are easy ways to resolve objections, to create abundance, and to really, the motto that I have, to make more money, help more people, and have more fun. That's what Doug Brown teaches. And we certainly appreciate you coming on. I want to learn more. I know your boy Tom Brady's coming back, so you're probably excited. We'll be excited. We'll be excited to have you back as well, Doug. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Enjoy. Thank you. All right. In Boston, they'll be drinking tonight in Boston on St. Patty's Day. There's green beer. All right. Next up, it's Sirower. That's it. Mark Sirower, best-selling author as well. Everybody's a best-selling author. This is amazing. He is a partner of M&A strategy at Deloitte. Never heard of it. Is that a startup, Deloitte? Welcome, Mark, to Office Hours. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks, David. It's exciting that the Synergy solution just launched yesterday, and I turned 60 today. So
your birthday's today?
It is today. Yeah, it's
my son's 12th birthday today. We were just talking about that earlier.
Oh, that's fabulous. No, St. Patrick's Day is a great day for a birthday because everybody remembers it. So.
Yeah. And they always think of you as being lucky, right? If you're born on St. Patty's Day, they just like, oh, this was a lucky baby. This is the lucky friend I have, and we'll all go celebrate. But the only problem is you always have to wear green.
I was wearing green earlier. And, we'll do again this evening.
You got dressed up for us. My son has like a little green leaf on his shirt. I was searching for the green. I'm like, you are a St. Patty's Day birthday. Where's your green? He goes, right here, Dad. Look, there's a leaf on this rose. I was like, okay,
Okay.
we're there. But happy birthday, first of all.
Thank
And
you.
Yeah.
it was fun that you used the word synergy, because you wrote a fantastic book that came out, like you said, the synergy trap.
Yeah.
And those are, I went to Occidental College, so that's what I would call almost an simile to an oxymoron, a synergy trap.
Yeah.
What exactly is the premise in the M&A game that companies fall into a synergy trap when looking at M&A?
So great question. So the synergy trap came out 25 years ago. So what Jeff Wyrens and I have done is, and he was on me for a long time to do this, but we wrote the synergy solution as sort of a heavy bookend to the trap. So the trap was very descriptive, and this is very prescriptive, this book. But I would start out by just acknowledging just how different or just how unique a capital investment decision M&A is. Where else do you pay everything up front? Certainly for a publicly traded company, you pay everything up front before you even have a chance to touch the wheel. You can't stop the funding. You can't divert the funding. You've paid it. So that cost of capital clock starts ticking right at close. And so M&A implies promises, and whether you realize you're making them or not. The second thing is that when you pay a premium, 20, 30, 40, 50% premium above the standalone market value of the target, you're creating a brand new business performance problem that not only didn't exist before, but nobody expected it. So it's sort of a shock to the system. And investors can only go, they can only go by what you tell them. So if you think of it, when you bring a deal public, you're facing this classic asymmetric information problem. That is, management presumably knows more about the deal than investors and other stakeholders. So they can only go by what you tell them. So they're trying to see whether you're signaling that you have a plan and you understand the promises you're making. The other thing that's unique about M&A is once you've done the integration that's so essential to making it work, you've jacked up the exit costs. It's very difficult and very expensive to unwind mistakes. So that's kind of the starting point for us. And if I were to say the big takeaways from the book, I mean, it's a pretty long book. It's 400 pages. It's attractive to say things like, well, you need to have a strategy, or you have to manage the cultures right, or you shouldn't overpay, even though nobody intentionally overpays. And these issues like strategy, culture and change, and valuation are all important issues. But what we try to show is how intimately connected they are, and that M&A is a very connected end-to-end experience. And not understanding that is sort of how you fall into the traps. The other thing we try to make clear right from the very beginning is that capital is luxurious. Treat capital like it's luxurious. It's expensive to touch. It has a cost. And so when you start thinking that way, then you realize there are smart things to do with capital and less smart things to do with capital. So ultimately, M&A is about choices. Like, what are your priorities? What are you trying to do with your business? Are there markets you're trying to enter? Are there end markets, customer segments? Are there new offers you're trying to bring to market? And to think about M&A from the beginning is, what can I do with this asset or sets of assets that I couldn't do otherwise, nor could the seller or the target? So it's if but for the deal. So those are two of the big takeaways, and then we can go on from here.
Well, I've been involved with a number of different M&As over my career. What's interesting is the promise of the synergistic promise, or the promise of synergy by bringing these two entities together. And you said something that was really interesting just a moment ago. The presumption that management knows what's going on. And I really do think that is a presumption that oftentimes does not hold up, when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. I mean, the due diligence is done and whatnot, but all of a sudden, I mean, the wheels come off in a very interesting way. Can you talk a little bit about how you address that in the book?
Sure, and maybe I can kill a couple of birds with one stone and talk a little bit about why this is so important right now. When Jeff and I wrote this, we wanted it to be timeless, just like the synergy trap turned out to be. I still get royalties 25 years later. But I don't think we realized how timely it would be. So just think of what happened in 2021. And it really wasn't until the end of last year that we looked at just the pure M&A data from the last several years. Economists define merger waves as concentrations of M&A activity. By an economist measure, we're definitely in a merger wave. But as strategists, we look for the wave shape. And if you look at 2021, the value of deals went up by 60% just in 2021. There was a 26% increase in the volume of transactions. And that's really interesting. But there was one number or a couple numbers that mattered a lot to us, and that was big deals went up. And so we define as deals over $1 billion. They doubled in 2021. And just 2% of all transactions represented over 65% of the value. Now, I'm not a soothsayer, but when I start to see that, now we're starting to see a wave shape. And so what does that mean? Well, you only get a wave shape one of two ways. One is either companies that hadn't been doing deals are now doing them, or companies who had been acquisitive now start doing more deals or bigger ones, and they're deviating from their M&A models that they've used in the past. And so with M&A, when you start to see that wave shape, there's an injection of inexperience into the market. Either they've not done deals before, or now they're doing more bigger ones. That's the only way you get the wave shape. So you're injecting inexperience in the market at near all-time high market valuations, and then paying a premium on top of that, 20, 30, 40% more, 50% more, on these very unique capital investment decisions. So I think that's where the root is. And what does that mean? To get to your question, once a deal goes live, once you're doing diligence on a deal, time is not on your side. Things move very fast. Maybe you have, from the time you start diligence, formal diligence on a live deal, maybe you have 4 weeks, maybe, before you sign the deal and you announce it. Then maybe you have 2, 3, 4, 5 months before it closes. And then you're off. That cost of capital clock starts ticking. So once a deal goes live, time is not on your side. The period that you have time is when you're thinking about your M&A strategy. And that's the game of choices. And we contrast prepared acquirers, that is, companies who know what they want and why and how they'll create value with it, versus reactors. And when you start feeling the merger wave, which is, competitors are doing deals, private equity transactions have tripled since 2016 in terms of value. So you've now got private equity competitors in the market that maybe you didn't see before. Companies feel compelled to do something, so some journalist doesn't say the world was changing and Charlie just sat there, so to speak. So this is especially the time to take that step back and decide, what are your priority pathways for growth? What's the universe of opportunities that sit along those pathways, and make those difficult choices about which deals are better for you than others. So that, because what reactors do is they respond to a deal at hand, and they've implicitly ruled out a whole universe of other deals that may have been better for them had they established priorities. So I'll just say one more thing on that. Reactors have lots of ideas for growth. Prepared companies have priorities. And reactors think about deals in isolation. Prepared companies think about portfolios of assets. Because even experienced acquirers may only close 10 to 20% of the deals that are on their watch list. So they're constantly, we call it always on. They're always looking at the markets. They have to understand emerging players, sets of assets that are most important for them. Anyway, I'll stop there.
No, it's good. My first M&A deal was in 1995 in my 20s, working with West Publishing and Anderson Consulting, which later became Accenture, did a $3.4 billion Thomson Reuters M&A deal with West Publishing. And it was the first deal that I saw that had a different perspective as a prepared M&A deal, a prepared purchaser. And that was a new idea about community and data. And I would say it was the first over $1 billion deal that was done understanding community and data. And now today, we have the aspect of the size, scope, and scale of an audience that still, I believe in, with great geniuses at the Big Four, weigh our imaginations of size, scope, and scale when we look at distribution into a community or the data value for that community. And it's sometimes very difficult to determine the potentiality, which I find a lot of people take advantage of to get those 30%, 40%, 50% markups by overvaluing community and overvaluing data or distribution of data or distribution to community. So there's in the old days, and I'm old enough, not quite as seasoned as the birthday boy or his friend up there, but you could do an M&A deal based on people and business, right? And meeting with the executive, you knew you had a winner, and that these executives or management were going to take whatever changes and make it happen because things were happening slower. Now added on, we have these two aspects of community and data. How has that changed this synergy solution, knowing that there's this variable, this lottery ticket that can't fully be understood, and the only way we can understand it is by trusting those who are providing the data on the community or the data itself?
That's a good question. Let me try to answer that with that. You're sort of talking about, like, what are you looking at in diligence? And in diligence, it's all about the data. I mean, it's all about the data you have access to. There's a lot of diligence you can do before the transaction shows up. Just imagine you're a renewable energy company. You're trying to decide what pathways. Pardon me. I'm here in Soho, and there's some noise outside. But think of the diligence that you could do with the data that's out there to establishing priorities. So, for example, if you're a renewables company, are you focused on renewable natural gas? Are you focused on green hydrogen? Are you focused on lithium-ion battery recycling, solar plus storage, the technology in the grid? So a lot of that diligence about establishing priorities and looking at the data that's available and what you can learn from talking to experts in those different industries, that can be done before you're even focused on a particular deal. Right. Once you're looking at a specific deal and the data room opens, that's where when I say time isn't on your side, if you don't have the data that you need, you can't form baselines for both companies, which is what you need to start thinking about cost reduction efforts. You need to understand the kind of cost transformation or cost reduction programs that the target already has in place, so you don't mix up those with synergies. For example, so for us, it's all about the data and access to data.
Well, we certainly appreciate the data of your birthday and the birthday songs going on in the background. Happy birthday to you, my friend. And we will absolutely, it's funny, understanding synergy and solution, having been given a different title made it a little bit more difficult on me, but I would not, I was sitting here, Blaine, thinking, I'm a recovering lawyer, but thank goodness I'm not in the M&A game anymore, because I'm just not smart enough. And
stop!
I don't know how you keep up with it.
It is complex.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday, Mark. We'll let you go enjoy your birthday. We appreciate you here on Office Hours. We'll have you back. I got some more questions.
That's great. Well, we did a big study in the book. I was hoping we were going to be able to talk about the study and the importance of announcement day, but we'll have me back, and I'm happy to talk more.
That's exactly what
I will tell you, because we will have you back, because for whatever reason, whether it's my PR team or yours, I must have got 20-year ago notes, because my notes of what I was supposed to cover was a book that was written 20 years ago.
Well, we can talk about that one too, but
I'm an illuminator. When I screw it up, I screw it up. Today. Exactly. We'll put it on Mark. Matt, make sure we bring Mark back on so we can get a after birthday party where we actually get to the crux of what we want to talk about. So thanks for joining us.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Thanks so much.
You take care.
I wish I was perfect, but like I always tell people, Office Hours is a special room. Number one, it's the room where I'm not the smartest one in the room. And two, it's the room for improvement. And I have a lot of room for improvement. And
hands in the air.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking at those notes going, what's going on here?
The synergy trap, that's the synergy solution. Where'd the solution come from?
Right. And then he has a release and a test with surveys. I'm like, wait, I don't have this on my notes. And my team's telling me his PR team provided that to us. So we may figure out where this synergy actually is and where the solution should be.
This-
Anyway, Blaine, what's your
This is a
takeaway
good
for
merger.
today?
This illustrates the difficulty with mergers, right?
Oh, wait, and it was his birthday. That was what made it even worse, right? Like at least it wasn't Doug's birthday. He's just sitting in the green room having a good time, but God, it's the guy's birthday and my son's birthday, and I'm sitting there wasting everyone's time. Anyway, Blaine, what was your takeaway?
Well, I'm gonna actually just kind of pick up on this last little piece. Just being flexible. The idea of stuff happens. Whether going back to Doug's work here, the business factors. We got a checklist. Did we get the right information sent to the right person in the right time? That kind of stuff. But also, if it doesn't happen, are we in a position to actually be flexible? And you and I both have been involved with mergers. The rigidity is the hobgoblin. I mean, people get positioned and rigid about how things should be done. And when you start bringing two organizations together, you have to be flexible. You got to be able to dance. And a checklist can allow that to happen, but also just a mindset of we're bringing different parties together. Let's play with this. Nobody's birthdays got taken away today. Everybody had a birthday today. So when mistakes happen, just know that your birthday's safe.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about something that Doug really teaches, and it's the word that stood out to me with all that he was doing, and it's resolution, right? When we utilize gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, we have alignment or resolution. And what resolution means to me is we can live our lives at ease. We can live it at ease if we don't allow the things that create dis-ease or interference to our ease by beating ourselves up or making a mistake or learning lessons or, trying to force or oversell, back end sell, or resist objections and all the different things that we do to ourselves in these situations. And so I feel blessed to have the great guests that we had today and appreciate their patience, gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, and having a show that was a lot of fun. It was the birthday edition of Office Hours. Make sure these peaceful and easeful philosophies I've learned from my great mentor, learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM. Blaine, please wish everyone a happy birthday at your home and mine. Please, I will see you next week from Ireland, and enjoy the week. I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. You have a great, safe flight. Looking forward to talking. Take care.
Awesome. All right, everyone. That's it. Be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self. Happy birthday, Mark. But most importantly, thank you, Miles, for giving up a half an hour of our day. I'm going to celebrate with my unbelievable 12-year-old son, the gift that keeps giving. Happy birthday, Miles. I love you. Thank you. See you guys later.